The Pan-African Historical Theatre Project, now known as Panafest, is a cultural event held in Ghana every 2 years for Africans and people of African descent. It was first held in 1992. The idea of this festival is to promote and enhance unity, Pan-Africanism, and development of continent of Africa itself. Activities that occur at this festival are performances and work in the areas of theatre, drama, music, and poetry, among other things. Also, there are viewing of a durbar of chiefs and tours to various places of interest, such as slave castle, dungeons. Panafest was mooted by the late Efua Sutherland in the mid-1980s as a cultural vehicle for bringing Africans on the continent and in the diaspora together around the issues raised by slavery that remain suppressed. Gilbert Kobina Buhari, the moderator of the Interfaith Day and also founder of God Box Foundation, he is a systematic theologian specializing in African diaspora religions from the Union Theological Seminary. Our history from this extended story to post-slavery and post-decolonization, coupled with the diversity of religious opinions concerning these 400 years. Proclamation shows how complex freedom and our definition of liberation truly is. This will be an interfaith dialogue between Pan-African religious and spiritual leaders, addressing what the 400 years signifies, what liberation should look like for the Pan-African family, and whether Africa is indeed the answer. Some panelists who showed up are Hamidiel Ben Yehuda, historian for the African Hebrew Israelites and Jerusalem; Ahuma Bosco Okanse, who is the president for Rastafari Council; Imam Aziz Mohammed, who is a professor of Islamic University College; Dr. Iva Carithus, the General Secretary of Samuel DeWitt's Proto Conference; Pastor Broly, Minister for St. Paul Community Baptist Church; Rabbi Kohan Nataya, who is Executive Director of the Panafest Foundation; Mambo Dowoti Deser, the founder and president of the ATI; Reverend Tracy Blackmore, the Executive Minister of Justice and Witness Ministries; and Bishop Dr. Charles Aban, who is the director of the National Clergy Association. Assessing the theme, Beyond 400 Years, Reaching Our Continent into Future. According to Omar Osman, lecturer of Ghana Muslim Mission, Africans have problem of identity because we don't know our roots, problem of inferiority because we are black, problem of development because of our attitude, problem of consciousness and importance of time because blacks don't respect time.
When we talk of black people are people who have no respect for time at all. And there's a quotation in the Quran itself that addresses the issue of time. When we have to return, then what are we returning for? Are we returning to make ourselves better, or are we returning to continue the way we used to live with the white in the diaspora? So that is why I say it's a time for self-actualization and self-realization. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we believe that human civilization is determined by 5 things. Number 1, your color, your land, your language, your development, and your origin. Now, color. Are we seeing ourselves to be inferior because we are black? In fact, the Quran states that the reason why God puts us into different colors is to manifest the divine capability, to the manifestation, or to manifest that God is capable of doing everything. That is why we have black, we have red, we have blue, we have yellow man, according to the Quran. So why do we see ourselves inferior because we are black? There's one man who despised a black man in Arabia because he was a black man. And he said, "You go away the son of a black slave." The Prophet of Islam said to him, "Is that the way you think? Then you are an ignorant person." Among the black communities themselves, there are some who disregard others because of the way they look. So we have to do away with that if we want to contribute immensely for the development of our nation and our people.
According to Rabbi Kohan Netaya Halevi, Africans have lost our way. We will find our way in the wilderness, and that path has a course, which is the 400 years. At the end of the 400 years, it's up to us to know we are free.
This 400 years, when heard by Hebrews, we understand that for disobeying and having lost our way, we would actually find ourselves in the wilderness. Amen. And that path has a course, and that course was 400 years. And so at the end of that 400 years, it's up to us to understand that we are free. Because this is also a reference to the ancient story of the Hebrews that were brought out of Egypt. And although they were brought out at a time that many of us know as the Passover, it's 40 years, many of them had not left the land of Egypt. Amen. Their mind in the wilderness had never left, was never free.
He added up saying, we have to change our mind and reality as Africans on how we relate to each other, how we perceive each other, how we understand each other, defining our own reality and take the definition of our reality out of the hands of people who don't belong to us.
So in order for us to change the narrative as a people, which is what has been constantly repeated in this year of return, that we must change the narrative, we can't change the narrative until we change our mind. Because it's not until we change our mind that we can change our behavior. And not until we change our behavior that we can change our results. And not until we change the results that we can change the narrative. But the narrative only tells the story of our actions. So we must change our mind to change our reality. So this should be an exercise, not just this session of interfaith dialogue, but the whole Panafest experience should be able to change our minds as Africans of how we perceive each other, how we relate to each other, and how we understand each other, and how we have more tolerance for each other. And that is practicality. So we have to proclaim that this 400 years means something to us by defining our own reality and take the definition of our reality out of the hands of people who don't belong to us. Right. We must define our own reality and define our own way forward. So that is how I see the 400 years.
According to Amadel Ben Yehuda, religion has taught us to die before we go to hell or heaven, but spirituality teaches us we are already dead and gone to hell. Assessing the 400 years is problematic because of what we did within the 155 years to those who were in the Caribbean and South America prior to our arrival in Jamestown. Does that don't count? It's problematic because Africans don't mark our time and value our time. So what are we celebrating and observing in the 400 years?
Religion has taught us that we have to die to get to heaven or to hell. But spirituality teaches us that we have already died and gone to hell. There is no other way to look at our reality and our condition on this planet. And so this idea of 400 years is problematic in many ways because someone else has defined it. Because what do we do with the 150 odd years of those who were in the Caribbean and South America prior to our arrival at Jamestown? Does that not count? Did that not set the prophetic clock turning?
He added up saying, the only good thing to come in the captivity was when it was over. He quoted from Bishop Henry Newton saying,
Bishop Henry McNeil Turner made the statement in 1900. He said, Africa is our home. Any man that has the sense of an animal must see that there is no future in that country for our people.
Imam Aziz Mohammed, the professor of Islamic University College, said the 400 years marks the final journey of Africans in the wilderness.
He asks, what is the 400 years bill that was signed in the US? I think it marks the final journey of people who are in the wilderness, and as it were, they didn't know, yes. And then there was a time for them to return because they have now fulfilled whatever it is to be fulfilled, and then they need to come back and take their own destiny into their own hands and then chart a new path. That is how I see it. Wow. And then finally, from my perspective, from the Islamic perspective, he was talking about some enslavement. Yes, this type of enslavement, no doubt, was a kind of culture that every religion came to meet. But at the end of the day, today, like my members of the panel said, look, this is over. Enslavement is no more. But we need to liberate ourselves from our mental. Yes, the mental slavery is still there, and we need to liberate it. Once that is done, we become full and complete people, capable of waging crusade into any other continent that we can find ourselves. And America and whoever they are, all so-called our bosses, they now know that Africa is ready.
We acknowledge that we are divine beings, that we were abducted to a place across the Atlantic, that we were, in some instances, betrayed by our own people, that the struggle that we face as people who have been enslaved, people who have been oppressed, but people who have been righteous, at least has to go back that far. And we acknowledge Bookman. We acknowledge our history in our prayers. We acknowledge that we are liberators as such. And we also make a commitment at the end of the prayer to never forget those we love. We never forget our homes, our homelands. We never forget who our cultures are, where we descended from, who our people were by way of our mothers, by way of our fathers.
Reverend Tracy Blackmon, USA, expressed the return of the 400 years to be the chance for Africans to plant their feet on the soil of their ancestors. She expressed her feelings.
I came to Ghana for this 400th year anniversary because I wanted to plant my feet into the soil from which my ancestors came. Where time I get off a plane in Ghana, I know that I'm home. There's just a different feeling here.
I claim my African identity, and this is a welcoming coming home to where I feel at home. This is not my first trip to Ghana. I've been to Africa many times and to Ghana many times. In fact, I have been privileged to help develop a computer and community center in Salt Pond, Ghana.
Ghana is in fact the place to come, the place to begin talking about how to improve Africa, the place to make their identity, to overcome issues of identity. So our president has been around the United States, to the Caribbean and so on, to invite people who are of African descent to once again turn and look at Ghana as the place where they can make their home.
This is the converging path of our brothers from the diaspora, from America, from Jamaica, from Europe, from Asia, coming together yearly for a program we call ICAD. ICAD means that the International Convention of the Africans in the Diaspora. And that is where the theme of some of these meetings is what we call Jinaye, the survivor, and also an opportunity for us to have a forgiving spirit of services, healing, and atonement.
Take the shackles off my feet. Make I go, make I go. It's a battle. Take the shackles off my feet. Make I go, make. Take the shackles off my feet. Make I go, make I go. It's a battle.